Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. It is a cool-ish day here in Central Texas. The weather has been so all over the place. I feel like every video I film out here, it's been a different weather condition. So today it's windy and it's in the mid 60s, but it feels a little bit cooler and I feel like I'm being a weenie about it today, so I had to put on a vest. But it is that time for another garden tour. And I feel like this garden is a work in progress right now. I've been doing a lot of tearing down and planting some seeds, and some of them have come up, but not all of them have yet. So it feels like it's under construction at the moment, but there are still some fun things happening, and there are still some summer plants alive and lots of good things. So I've got nutmeg and saffron out here today, and we'll just take a little stroll through the garden while it's nice and sunny, even though it is a little bit windy. Hopefully it'll hold off a little bit for a few minutes while I film this, but we'll just see everything that's going on and go over sort of my plans for the winter. So I left these frost covers out because every couple weeks or so we've been having a threat of a frost, and we are supposed to have one while I'm away. So I'm debating covering my beans, but I'm also thinking about maybe not covering them because they're just not producing the way that they were in the fall. I do still have some beans. There's one small one there, but they do have quite a bit of frost damage already. And the peppers, I don't really care. They're not really producing much anymore either. Hello? All right, everybody's joining us. So there are still some. There are, I think, a couple that are big enough to harvest. So, and we are leaving actually at 4 a.m. to go to Tennessee. So you'll see this while I'm there. But I think tonight I need to go through and at least pick everything that's ready, because if there is a frost, it'll just get destroyed. Normally it'd be fine on the plant, but like this one, look, there's hardly any leaves left. So is that worth saving? I'm not sure. That's a good size. I could just bring inside. And I think it'll be a good time for things like this Swiss chard that I planted to really start to thrive in this bed. It's doing really well already. And I have a kale plant that I want to put in here. So I just think it's time to let nature happen in these beds. But it's been a good run with these green beans. I've really gotten a lot this fall and they were really productive, and it's really nice that I could grow them so close together. They really don't mind that at all. So that has been really good. I'm just going to let that turn over. I did just plant some kohlrabi seeds in here yesterday, so they haven't sprouted up yet, but I do have my leeks doing really well. This is the smallest one right now, and I'll show y'all at the seedling table. I have some that I'm gonna put in here, and I did sort of take down this salvia. I cut a lot of the dead branches off. I left a few branches that seem to be growing a little bit just in case, but I'm really trying to clear out this space to get some fall and winter crops in here. It's mostly going to be the leeks and the kohlrabi, and then the chives will die back when we have a deeper freeze, but they'll come back in the spring. So they look a little silly right now, basically just flopped over, but they're fine. They'll just die off and come back. I do have next to it the last of the cayenne peppers. I'm gonna let nature happen to them as well. I did plant some bok choy seeds in here, so hopefully once they die, the bok choy will come up and that will be all peachy in this bed. Next to it, I have my kohlrabi from last year, which is still growing. I feel like the tops are edible, so I'm gonna see about eating those. And then I planted my collard greens, which are doing so well in here. They just look so healthy and so happy, and I can't wait to eat them soon. I really think they are a staple for me in a winter garden. And my snap peas are also doing really well. They're getting mature. They should be about flowering size by now, at least the biggest ones up here. So hopefully I'll be able to get a good couple rounds of peas before we have a deep freeze. These can handle a light freeze, just not a deep freeze at all. So I do like to do a round in the fall, early winter. Then we have that deep freeze usually in January, and they'll die off, and then I'll plant them again. So that's everything going on in here. A lot of winter crops. Hi, Saf. Hello. That was a hiccup. You feeling okay, girly? Just the hiccups? Somebody's been eating grass again. Over here, I just haven't had the heart to cut down my basil plants. And I know I should. I really know that they have a tiny bit of damage. They're not growing as well anymore. I've let them go to flower and they're not of much use. So I did use some the other day in some bruschetta that my husband and I made for dinner, but I don't need like 7 basil plants. So I'm waiting for them to die as well. And once they die, I'll plant more of these massive scallions that I've been growing. Those are the last 2 I have from last year. I have my parsnips from last year. And I also have these beans that are undergoing the same issue with damage. There are a couple beans that I can harvest. I don't know what that is on that bean, but I could harvest a couple beans, but they don't look very good. They're not growing. I had been covering them, but I'm gonna stop now. It's just not worth it anymore. And then I do have some giant beets that I left in from last year because I actually just like the greens. I mean, I do like beets. My husband hates them, but I prefer the greens. He likes the greens. So I was just gonna let them keep growing and we'll just eat the greens throughout the winter. And they look like they're about ready. So once we get a freeze, all of this is gonna go and I'll just have some root veggies and beet greens and that'll be all good. I do also have all of my vincas still. They haven't died. Once we get a real freeze, they will die, or at least start to. They are technically not cold hardy, though I have had them survive a super light freeze, like 30 degrees, but not much more than that. They're just so pretty, and I will never pull them out. I will just let them go until they die off, and then I'll be sad, but then they'll all come up next year, and they'll look like this, and just completely take over my beds, and I'll have to figure out something once that happens. In this bed, I still have my white currant tomato, which has been my most cold hardy tomato, surprisingly. It is doing so well with all this new growth right now. There's lots of new tomatoes growing. You can see those there. So this has just been such a fun tomato overall. I have it growing all along the edge here. It's just popping out of everywhere. I have started weaving it back through the trellis, and we'll just see how long it lives. There's no point in me attempting to cover this, so I just let whatever happens happen, but it's been doing really well. I did plant a few seeds in here, so I have some radishes have come up, some have not. So these are a few radishes, but I don't remember what type they are. There we go. So there's a couple radishes. I planted more, they're not up yet, but I also planted over here a bunch of Chinese white celery from Baker Creek Seeds. I forgot I planted these, and I almost planted radishes over here, but I planted them about 3 weeks ago and they've come up and they're doing really well. So I'll just let them keep growing. I did accidentally disturb some over here, so hopefully they come back. But yeah, I've got a lot of celery right here, which is awesome. And here is where I planted that extra garlic. So let's see. I think it started coming up. Yeah, it did. So here's one, here's another one. Just had an extra of garlic. Here we go. So that's starting to come up. There's one which leads us to the big patch of garlic, which is growing really, really well. A lot of them are coming up, mostly the Alio Blanco. I don't think any of the Asian Tempest have come up yet, which I will be sad if those all fail because I didn't get a lot of cloves. So I'm hoping they're just a little slower than the Alio Blanco. Saffron has been digging in here a lot. You can see little holes from her and her just like stepping around in here, and she's been disturbing the garlic a little bit. I've had to put it back into place, but it's doing really well. And then the volunteer one that came up is doing fine, so that is really, really promising. Over here, this is done, this tomato plant. I do have to get this one tomato out. I'll probably do that actually tonight, because can I just pull it? There we go. Yeah, we'll just take that inside because I am worried about that freeze potential. But yeah, this plant is done, so I do need to just rip it out, but it's kind of a tangled mess. So I did save seeds from this one. The Thai basil has also been taking a bit of a heat from the freeze. The yellow pear is alive. The rest of them died. Some of the smaller basil plants died, so I'm slowly clearing out this section. This section, everything died. So what I did notice is back here is the only place that actually froze and had damage, because this bed in the winter, the coldest days of the year, sun does not touch this bed at all during the day. So this was the first to go. I need to spray this with BT because something is eating my poor cabbages. So we'll figure out what's eating them, get some BT on there. They're doing really well. They don't mind a freeze. But yeah, this tomato was absolutely cooked. And so is this basil. So I'm letting the roots decompose a little bit before they pull them out, and then I'll put in another cabbage or two. Kale is still being kale, and then I'm just making a pile of everything I dig up. Carrots are doing really well. They love the cooler winter. They're actually not really a summer vegetable. They're more of a fall winter one because they don't like the heat and they love cooler weather. So they're doing really, really well. Hi, Saf. Hi, sweetheart. Hi. You good girl. Okay, so I have my other herb bed here. The lemongrass can tolerate a light freeze, so I'm letting that go. Artichokes are looking good. I don't see any actual artichokes coming out of them, which this is year 3 and I still don't have an artichoke, but it's fine. Asparagus is starting to go. It'll come back up in the spring. I have a strawberry back there doing well, and the Swiss chard is making a comeback, the one that did survive. So now that it's cooler, it's starting to grow healthier leaves again, and I will be harvesting this throughout the season because this was the peppermint one and it just tasted really good. So that is a plus, that I don't have to buy more Swiss chard. Blackberries are starting to lose their leaves due to the weather change. And then this herb bed is doing really, really well. Everything looks really healthy. Not too much to report on it because it's all the same things. I haven't found any more saffron flowers, but the plants are doing really well. I just had the one flower. And back here, excuse you, let's not. No, we don't need to dig. Thank you. Come here, sweetie. There you go. Okay, so in this bed, I did take all of the soybeans and I ripped them up. I do have a lot of volunteer fennel that's growing, if I can show that off. So here's a little fennel plant. It's nice, I don't have to go out and buy fennel. Still waiting for this basil to die. And this eggplant, we'll see what happens. I've really been trying to keep it alive, but I feel like I'm going out of town. It's gonna get cold, so it's probably going to meet its match, unfortunately. But I have lots of fennel growing, and then once everything dies in here, I'll probably grow some cold hardy leafy greens or something like I did last year in this bed. I just like to fill in things wherever I can. In the back, I have my potatoes still going strong. This pepper is a mess. It's probably just gonna get chopped up shortly because I don't really think it's producing much anymore. And then I just have my compost, which has been pretty low, but I've been filling it up now that I've been tearing down all of the plants back here. And I will be moving these inside. I just moved them out and trimmed them, but these are my overwintering peppers for the most part. They still have some peppers on them because I'm a little too lazy to take them off. And some of them are growing. Like this is a banana pepper and it's actively growing, so I am going to purposefully leave those on. But for me right now, it's easier to just leave them on the plants than put them in the fridge because they've been going bad in the fridge really quickly lately. But thank you. Behind them, oh, I've got a couple more over here as well. I have my seedling table. These are the leeks I was talking about. They are pretty much ready to go out into that bed and just get started. They grow really rapidly out there and they don't grow quite as fast in here. I've got a kale, I've got a couple more peppers, I've got a broccoli, and then unfortunately I might have to go get a new dill because this one didn't like being in the garage for a few days when we had a freeze. So I think it's toast and I'm probably just gonna have to go get a new one, but that's that. Come on. You like it out here? The wind stopped. You feel very warm now. You've been sitting in the sun. Yeah, it's a good girl. Good girl. It almost feels like a second version of spring out here where I'm just waiting for things to pop up and I've got seedlings everywhere and the weather is like cool and windy and it's warm some days and not other days. but it's fun, and it is a bit of a transition in the garden, but I think I'm ready for it. I'm a little tired of my giant basil plants and the scraggly peppers and tomatoes that are left, so I have had a lot of fun this week just overhauling all of the dead plants and making room for new ones, and I'll just keep doing seeds. I love just doing rounds and rounds and rounds of bok choy in the winter. It's just so much fun because I go through it so quickly. My husband and I love making soups. We love pho, we love ramen. We just go crazy in the winter with that kind of stuff. And potato leek soup, I'll be so excited about that. And then it's the perfect weather in Texas in the winter for the cats out here, so they really enjoy helping out. Yeah, I'm talking about you. So it's just a lot of fun overall. But that's it for our little garden tour today. If you like this video, make sure to give Nutmeg and I here a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.